freight doesn't win votes, does it?
No, but it creates jobs and it creates wealth. Because if we haven't got an infrastructure, and planning is essential. I keep hearing the Chancellor bang on about the Northern Powerhouse. And I keep asking him, where are we going to get the freight trains between Crewe and Warrington? There's a tunnel south of Warrington, blocks everything. It's 2-line.
Do you think the
so the whole all this traffic we're going to move is blocked anyway?
Do you think the government will realise this in the near future, with Lord Adonis actually being co-opted in?
Well, it's just like John says, but even if we know it's going to take 15 years, if we know where the problems are and we say we will address these problems, we plan to do it. This is how we do it. But you've got to acknowledge that the problems exist. If you don't acknowledge that the problems exist, HS2 will take over completely the whole of the yard at Crewe. There will be no freight yard left at Crewe. So that means we've got to use the freight, we've got to move the freight yard. Well, we've got the room, we know where to put it, Middlewich. We know exactly where to put it, but you've still got to get through Warrington. So if Warrington is literally the bottleneck to the whole of the Northern Gateway, why doesn't everybody be honest and say, a part of building HS2 is we have to double the tunnel capacity into Warrington or else it doesn't work.
Does government realise that? I know you're constantly banging on their door. Do they realise that?
Bernard, they don't even realise that Liverpool's got a separate electricity system. So on the grounds that they don't quite understand that Liverpool Railway runs on a completely different voltage from outside London, because it's the same as the underground, and they're talking about going from Liverpool to Wrexham, and I keep asking them on what power you're going to do it, and where you're going to get your locos from, and what you're going to build. And I keep in the north we have we have the Bermuda Triangle. It's called the Halton Curve. And every politician that's in the northwest, every time I go to a meeting, bangs on about the Halton Curve. It's a little piece of right. In fact, it's 1 point. Okay? But of course it goes to Chester and Wrexham. And you say, well, we can put the point back in, but where's the power coming from? Are we going to be 750 volts, 25 kV? Who's going to be the sponsor? Is it the North Wales government? Is it Chester government? Who is it? Because we know the reason that the point doesn't work is because nobody wants to sponsor it.
What we did in the north, though, with the RDAs, which were bigger, we've got about, 20 of these, what do they call them?
Let's. Local enterprise partnerships.
Yeah, well, that's all you can say about them. And they don't have the resources, they don't have the money. You need a body of a regional kind. I think they would say the same. They're very limited, they look to local. And that reinforces the point that's being made now about being local. I'll give you one example. When we came in 1997, I was faced with the collapse of the HS1. The man who came to me said, I can't do it anymore. I know you've given me 3 billion, I want 2 billion more. Amazing. And he said, it's going to collapse. His name was Mr. Hornby, which I thought was really funny. But I had to take it back into public ownership. And basically, that went back out to the stage we're at the moment. But you know what I found? When they sold HS1, they told everybody it was coming to the north. And to prove it, they built some trains for the north. And then they found those trains were sleepers. And they got stuck in the yard. They were rotting away. And I said, why didn't we use them? They said, well, the problem was that they sucked out too much electricity out of the Southern Line, and you couldn't use them. And we bloody well built them. We built them to convince it was a national railway, when they knew it would go no further than indeed to the Euston King's Cross connection. And that is a real problem. Nobody looks at it in a strategic way. The only way you can do with railways, it isn't just the ownership, it's the planning that's the issue. And we can have an argument about ownership, but the planning and having the land and the development and the plan to work to. And what the RDAs gave us, they gave us one for the north. That's why you got the Manchester hub. That's why you got some improvement now. That was well started before they started on the powerhouse. It's how you deal with those strategic decisions.
The problem that we have, and we have with the RDAs and we've got now, is that if you take Chester, which is not far from where I live, I can talk all day long about all the trains in the northwest and to Chester, The minute the train leaves Chester, it goes into the North Wales government, and I'm not allowed to talk about it anymore.
Or Irish.
Yeah, I'm not allowed. I mean, it's the bridge out of England, and you've got to remember, a lot of that community comes into Chester to work, into Birkenhead to work, but we're not allowed to talk about it. Shotton, massive. You cross the border to go into Shotton, it's got more people working there now than it ever did as a steelworks. But the road stops up the road. That's it, stops.
It does show the change. Before they made the really authority argument of where the power comes and goes, it was that my father was a controller at Chester Station. Then they were on the different roads. I was a kid and go and watch all that. And they did control it. But when they started these powers to different authorities, without there being a national framework, transport just needs a national framework. It's not only the railways, it's the ports, it's the roads, it's the airports, all of them important. I can remember coming in and saying, look, why do we go ahead with a second runway at Manchester? Well, it was all pretty well under the way. The Manchester needs to be a hub airport for the north. That's what it is, international hub airport. But it still wanted to keep its holiday traffic. And I tried to argue, what the hell are you doing? Holiday traffic and get in a bus and go to Liverpool, because it's not much different, and you get all the traffic which had a million out of there. Now it's phenomenally increased because Manchester and I brought them together, which is a big diplomatic coup, and got them to agree to change the rules that we were bringing in. Unfortunately, I couldn't just do it in Liverpool for time. It was taken over by Peel Holdings, and Peel Holdings certainly sees it as an integrated network on the Mersey.